Hey, what's up? It's Nathan here. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about my personal crypto investing strategy or philosophy. So over the past couple weeks, I've had several people reach out to me, ask me what to do in this wild and crazy world of cryptocurrency. Like they're new to it and they're not sure if they should do DeFi or buy Bitcoin or buy Dogecoin or whatever. They're just confused and overwhelmed and all that type of stuff. And I completely understand that. So I figured I'd share my personal crypto investing strategy or philosophy. Of course, this is not financial advice. This is just what I do and how I think about things and how I invest in cryptocurrency. Of course, do your own research, do your own thing. If you don't like what I'm doing, cool, do your own thing. I don't care what you do, doesn't matter to me. This is just what I do, so put it out there. Maybe it'll help somebody, and if it doesn't help you, well, then ignore it, okay? So first things first, I basically break it down into 5 different buckets. So I want to fill up bucket 1 before I move on to bucket 2, or basically the main point is to fill up my previous bucket. So if I'm over here in bucket 3, the main point here is to make money so I can fill up my bucket 2, and I want to fill up my bucket 2 so I can fill up my bucket number 1. So my goal is to fill up bucket 1, bucket 2, bucket 3, bucket 4, and then finally bucket 5. So that's kind of how it goes. I have a trickling effect basically. So bucket 1, which is my number 1 most important bucket, is to just stack sats. So basically that means buy Bitcoin. Satoshi's sats is how Bitcoin is broken down. And so when you see stack sats, that just means buy Bitcoin, have as much Bitcoin as humanly possible. And so for me, I want enough Bitcoin in cold storage. So this means it's off exchange, it's locked in hardware, multi-sig wallet where, it's safe, secure, all that type of stuff. So that way when it hits the market cap of gold, I firmly believe Bitcoin's market cap will hit that of gold, which is around $10 to $11 trillion, which would get us to a $500,000 Bitcoin. I don't see why anybody would buy a shiny rock versus, a global monetary network or system. Bitcoin is at least 10 times better than gold, so it's got to reach at least gold's market cap in my opinion. Now, maybe hyper Bitcoinization will take place and it'll go to millions of dollars, and that's awesome. But at the very least, I think we can get to a $500,000 Bitcoin. I'm 99% confident we will get there eventually. Now, it might not be in the next 6 months. It might be 5 years, it might be 10 years, but I believe we'll get there. So I'm pretty confident there. So that's why I'm stacking my Bitcoin as much as possible. And what I want to be able to do is follow the 3% rule, which basically means I could live off of 3% of my nest egg for eternity. So you might have heard of the 4% rule, which basically means it's for retirement. You have enough assets so you can live off of 4% of your assets, your nest egg for eternity. And I just went a little bit more conservative with it and said 3% of my assets. And so people who are considering early retirement may have to reduce their annual withdrawal to 3% to make the money last. So basically, I could live off of 3% of my Bitcoin for all eternity, and that's what I want in bucket 1. So whatever that number might be for you versus what it might be for me, it can definitely vary. But just for some examples, so basically for every Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin would be worth $500,000, which is basically $15,000 a year. So for every Bitcoin you have, just multiply it by 15, and that's how much money you could conceivably live off of at 3% when you have a $500,000 Bitcoin. Now, of course, if Bitcoin goes to $1 million, you got more money, right? So anyway, 5 Bitcoin would be $2.5 million, 75K a year, 10 Bitcoin, 5 million, or 150K per year. So from there, you can kind of measure, okay, this is how many Bitcoin that I want locked in cold storage, so that way when it hits 500K, I'm set for life. That's my number 1 goal, is to be set for life. And I believe Bitcoin is the best way to do that personally. So that's why I'm stacking as much Bitcoin as possible. And so money only goes into this bucket. I never take any money out of this bucket until I have enough for the 3% rule. And then I'll go ahead and make some decisions about how to diversify or pull that money out or whatever it might be. Maybe I just leave it in and just take 3% out every year. We'll see what happens when we get to that, $500,000 Bitcoin. So that's bucket number 1. I want this full before I really do much anything else, unless I'm over here in buckets 2, 3, 4, 5, trying to make enough money to fill up bucket number 1. So these are the money making buckets. This is my retirement bucket. All right, bucket number 2 then is more Bitcoin. You can never go wrong with more Bitcoin. So let's say I fill up bucket number 1. I get to, let's say I want 5 Bitcoin. I want 75K per year for the rest of my life. So I need 5 Bitcoin to do that. I get that 5 Bitcoin. filled up in bucket 1, cold storage, locked away somewhere safe and secure. So now, moving on to bucket number 2, I want more Bitcoin. Can never go wrong with more Bitcoin in my opinion. So constantly stacking Satoshis, trying to build up my stack because, I believe it's going up higher and higher and higher. I'm also going to be stacking smart contract platform tokens. So the smart contract platforms are basically the backbone of Web 3.0. And right now, I'm just stacking like the big three, Ethereum, Cardano, and Polkadot. There's other smart contract platforms out there. There's a lot of great technology out there. So, you can pick whatever you want or do whatever you want. I don't care. Not advice. This is just what I'm doing. These three main smart contract platforms is where I'm putting my money. So I'll just put that out there. All right, bucket 3 is the next bucket of tokens that I'm investing in, and these are the exchange tokens. So tokens that support various exchanges out there. And basically the reason I'm bullish on these exchange tokens is because I believe there's going to be a massive consolidation of bucket 5 assets. Bucket 5 assets into the exchanges. So we'll get down to bucket number 5 in just a minute here. But basically I think eventually there's like 10,000 tokens out there on the market, 10,000 projects, and a lot of them, they do good things well, but at the end of the day, they're just features, and I believe these features will eventually consolidate into the exchanges. So I think the exchanges are going to grow massively in the next few years because they're going to suck in all these, bucket 4 maybe and bucket 5 tokens and assets because, it doesn't take much to go ahead and absorb those types of features and functions. So that's why I'm investing in exchange tokens, because I believe they're going to suck up a whole bunch of different features and a bunch of these bucket 4 and 5 tokens. So some of the tokens that I'm invested in are BNB. Like BNB is basically doing this already. They already have DeFi, NFTs, margin trading, etc. Like BNB's already consuming the world basically. We got 1inch Cake, Uniswap, CRO, Crypto.com, Celsius, and Voyager. And Celsius isn't quite an exchange, but they're about to enable token swaps and things like that, so it'll be more exchange-like in the future. But anyway, I put it in that same bucket as the rest of the exchange tokens. And then the Pokédex just came out as well. I haven't purchased this yet, but I'm looking at it. Might be a good thing to purchase. Should be on the Polkadot blockchain, and hopefully it does amazing things over there. So anyway, that's the third bucket that I'm working on filling up because I believe there's a lot of room for growth in these exchange tokens as they go ahead and consume buckets 4 and 5. So then bucket 4 is like direct support tokens. Basically, that's what I categorized it as. So assets that directly support the smart contract platforms and exchanges. Like these smart contract platforms can only do so much. They can't do every single thing. So any other token or company that can support smart contracts or exchanges for that matter, they probably have a need for existing, and they have a market and customers and things like that. So this is things like oracles, so Chainlink, for example, credentials, lit, insurance. I don't have any insurance tokens, but I imagine that can be very handy if you do your own research and find tokens for insurance. I think there's definitely a market for that outside of what the smart contract platforms are able to support, and even maybe what exchanges are able to support. So anyway, I'm trying to come up with tokens and assets that support the exchanges and the smart contract platforms. So that's the next bucket I have. And then finally, we have bucket number 5 right here, which I consider YOLO bets. So due to small market caps and large yields, so oftentimes, there's a couple $1 million market cap with crazy yields for staking and providing liquidity, like maybe 200 to 1,000% APY on these various assets with low market cap. So I believe you can make a lot of money investing in various projects that seem to have some sort of merit. So I would not just randomly throw a dart and hope things go up in value. Like I would do my own research on these small cap cryptocurrencies, make sure that there's some problem that they're solving out there. So I do my own research, figure out if I think there's some validity, some merit behind the particular business or token or project. But ultimately, most of these features will consolidate onto exchanges once the exchanges can actually handle their current load. So that's what I was talking about a minute ago. I believe that the exchange tokens are going to suck up, buckets 4 and especially bucket 5 down here. But at this point in time, many exchanges are just trying to handle their current load of buying and selling tokens. So we still got some time for these YOLO bets, in my opinion. So I'm definitely taking part in YOLO bets. Anything that could, 10x overnight. It's worth, throwing 500, $1,000 here or there. If it could 10x overnight, or there's 200 to 1,000% APY. hey, I might as well throw a dart at it as long as, you know, it has some merit behind it, some purpose behind that particular token or project. So anyway, so this thing includes things like NFTs, yield optimizer, synthetic assets, lending and borrowing, option trading, etc. So all that stuff I can see rolling up into the exchanges. I don't know why an exchange would not do these type or offer these types of features. Like, they're going to, in my opinion. But anyway, so some tokens: Engine, Ren, Pulse, or Polka Starter, Beefy Token, Polka Markets, Odds, Dow Ventures, Pokemon, Horizon, Umbrella Network, etc. So these are just some of the YOLO bets that I'm participating in, trying to, you know, make a quick buck. And of course, if I do make a quick buck, I'm going to go ahead and probably buy some more Bitcoin with it, or sprinkle it onto the smart contract platforms or some of the exchange tokens. So I'm kind of a gambler at heart, and I like making these bets on these projects, and, you know, hopefully some of them pay off, and, you know, I can actually put it into the buckets where I'm more focused on and reliant upon. So anyway, those are the 5 buckets right there. And then all the while on buckets 2 through 5, so basically where I'm stacking more Bitcoin. So I've already filled up bucket 1, but I'm getting extra Bitcoin because it never hurts to have more, in my opinion. And then the smart contract platforms, all the way through to the YOLO bets. Basically, I'm trying to earn as much yield as possible on those tokens. So a couple of different ways that I'm earning that yield is through staking. So for example, Cardano, I can stake it right from the Daedalus wallet. So it's really easy and it's secure to do that type of thing. So I'm staking my Cardano tokens, I'm staking my Polkadot tokens, etc. So I'm earning yield by staking them. Some other ways to earn yield is through CeFi platforms. So centralized finance like Celsius Network, Voyager, BlockFi, and Crypto.com. So I have various tokens on those platforms earning yield. And then I have tokens on the DeFi, so on PancakeSwap and Beefy Finance, for example, where I'm able to earn even more yield, even though it comes at an increased risk because DeFi is a little, you know, shaky and a little more risky. However, based off of some of the interest rates, it makes some sense to go ahead and participate on those various networks. So yeah, buckets 2 through 5, I'm trying to earn as much yield as possible. In bucket 1, locked away, safe and secure, and all that type of stuff. So anyway, that is basically my crypto investing strategy philosophy. I have a bunch of other videos on different topics that I covered in here. So if you're interested, just check out my channel. Or if you have questions, please post them down below. Hopefully you found this interesting or helpful or something. Again, just my own personal opinion, not financial advice at all. Have a great rest of the day.